Welcome back. You're watching NewsX Deep Dive. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Singapore's recent decision to block social media content targeting Indians reflects a deeper intersection of digital governance, racial harmony and geopolitical signaling. What may appear as a routine moderation step is in fact a calibrated response to both domestic sensitivities and a wider global climate where anti-India sentiment is increasingly surfaced. Taking strong note of online content targeting the Indian community and attempting to stoke racial divisions, the Ministry of Home Affairs in Singapore has directed major platforms such as Facebook, YouTube and X to block access to specific posts. Authorities said these posts undermined the city-state's multicultural ethos. The directive, issued under the Online Criminal Harms Act, covered 14 posts that promoted claims that Singapore was being overrun by Indians. The move followed the circulation of inflammatory narratives portraying Indians as disproportionately represented in Singapore's government and society. Some posts questioned the country's commitment to racial harmony, while others alleged that Indian-origin politicians would favour Indian immigrants. There were also claims that Singapore's multiracial framework was merely a facade designed to appeal to Western values. Authorities said such narratives were not only misleading but designed to fracture social cohesion. Investigations revealed that the content had spread widely in recent weeks and included of course, derogatory language targeting Indians and migrant workers. Officials stated that the material likely originated from a China-based platform before spreading across multiple digital channels. However, Singapore's second Minister for Home Affairs and Law, Edwin Tong, clarified that there was no conclusive evidence of a coordinated campaign directed by any government. Tong strongly criticized the content, stating that it attacks the foundation of Singapore's society by attempting to divide amongst people along racial lines. He also emphasized that every community in Singapore has an equal place, and such narratives undermine the very basis of national unity. Authorities also stressed that attempts to sow discord, especially from foreign sources, would not be tolerated under Singaporean law. Such offences can attract penalties of up to 3 years in prison along with fines. This firm response must be viewed in the context of Singapore's demographic reality. Indians make up around 9% of the population and are one of the country's largest ethnic groups. They are deeply integrated into the economy, governance and social life. As a result, targeted disinformation against Indians is not an abstract concern, but one that can have immediate consequences for internal stability. At the same time, the move gains significance against a broader backdrop of rising hostility faced by Indians in different parts of the world. A recent incident in the United States highlighted these concerns starkly. A 28-year-old Indian man from Telangana, Anshul Kunsha, was shot dead in Philadelphia after being lured to a vacant apartment through a fake pizza delivery request. Investigators said he was called to deliver food to an abandoned location and was shot at close range with nothing stolen from him. His family described the incident as a deliberate trap, raising serious concerns about motive and safety. In another incident that went viral, a man in Texas was seen tearing an Indian flag outside a public building, while members of the crowd cheered and shouted anti-India slogans. In fact, 2 Indian nationals were found murdered in Canada within a span of 2 weeks. The latest incident involved the fatal shooting of Indian doctoral student Shivank Avasthi near the University of Toronto's Scarborough campus, while the earlier case involved the killing of Indian woman Himanshi Khurana in what police suspect was an incident of intimate partner violence. These incidents, along with reports of racial discrimination in countries such as Canada and the UK, form the larger context in which Singapore's actions must be understood. By moving swiftly against inflammatory content, Singapore is signalling that it will not allow similar narratives to gain ground within its borders. India and Singapore share a long-standing and multifaceted relationship rooted in history, culture and strategic cooperation. Diplomatic ties were established in 1965, and since then both nations have maintained strong political and economic engagement. Singapore played a key role in supporting India's Look East policy, acting as a gateway for India's integration with Southeast Asia. Economic cooperation forms the backbone of bilateral ties. The Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement signed in 2005 significantly boosted trade, investment and the movement of skilled professionals. Today, Singapore is one of the largest sources of foreign direct investment into India, and trade between the two countries continues to grow steadily. Strategically, the relationship has deepened through defense cooperation, joint military exercises such as SIMBEX, and collaboration in maritime security and counter-terrorism. Both nations also work closely in regional and multilateral forums, including ASEAN. Overall, India-Singapore relations are marked by mutual trust, shared interests, and a forward-looking partnership in Asia. Even during COVID, Singapore had India's back. India faced an oxygen shortage nationwide to treat COVID-19 patients. 4 cryogenic oxygen tanks donated by Tata Group, which were being used for transporting oxygen across the nation, were airlifted by the Indian Air Force from Singapore. The Republic of Singapore Air Force also sent 2 plane loads of oxygen supplies, and Temasek Holding, one of the 2 Singaporean government investment companies, donated medical supplies such as ventilators and oxygen concentrators to India. In essence, Singapore's decision is about more than blocking a handful of posts. It reflects an understanding that digital narratives, race and geopolitics are increasingly intertwined. It highlights a commitment to preserving social harmony in a diverse society, while also signaling alignment with India at a time when global perceptions and tensions surrounding the country and its diaspora are becoming more contested. Professor Ruwan Gunaratna, Middle East expert, joins us live. Professor Gunaratna, what do you make of these moves by Singapore? What do they convey?
Relations between the Chinese community, the Indian community, and the Malay community, as well as the Eurasian community. So if there is any disruption to that relationship, Singapore believes that its stability and security will be affected. Singapore has taken preventive and preemptive steps to remove those posts that directly and indirectly incite some disharmony between the Indians and the other communities. Singapore is very firmly committed to multiculturalism, as you said, and I believe that the Singapore model should be copied or should be emulated or should be adapted by even India and other countries to ensure that there is perfect harmony between the ethnic and the religious communities. It is paramount to do so, as you said, during this period when there are geopolitical rivalries. So I believe that these are measures governments must take to protect their own communities, to protect their own citizens for their prosperity and for peace.
Right. Professor Gunaratna, do you believe other countries also now, which do also share cordial ties with India, like of course Singapore does, should take a leaf out of their book, out of Singapore's book?
Absolutely, because Singapore is miles ahead. If you look at the quality of the Singapore political leaders, they are all qualified. They have speciality in some field before they become a politician. So they are very well trained, and they do not compromise their national interests and national security for ethnic or religious favoritism. So it is very rare today in governments around the world where leaders can think nationally and act in national interests, national and strategic interests, rather than personal and political interests.
All right, Professor Gunaratna, thank you for joining us with your perspective on this segment.